have a solution. The Whine No Whine Show, where you can be friended and offended all in the same hour, where we gather people from all different walks of life and perspectives, and we talk about everything that everyone has told you not to. Religion, politics, and everything under the sun. Nothing is off limits, and we do it all over a glass of wine. So grab a glass and join us as we save America, one civil conversation at a time.
3, 2, 1, action!
Oh, true. Yeah.
We are live! Yes! It's dancing time! Yes! Yes! It's the old white man dance! Yes! Woo! Welcome to the Whine No Whine Show! The only show where you can be friended and offended all in the same hour. America, hey! We have a problem. You know what I'm talking about. It's the zero to Nazi effect. This is any time that you are in a conversation, a debate, especially online, where there's a disagreement. And it's the length of time it takes to go from 0 to you're a Nazi. Hey. I will now punch you in the face and go outside and set fire to your car. That's just how we roll, right? This is what you do when you disagree. Set something on fire. We should start selling disagreement kits at Walgreens. It's just like a lighter and some lighter fluid. Yes, an offended kit.
I'm offended.
I'm offended. Gonna get out my offended kit. Well, we have a solution on the Whine Show. It's wine! Glorious wine! Wrong side. I'm a professional. Do not try this at home. This is Courong. It's so good, you can't go Courong with it. Yes, cheesy dad jokes. Southeast Australian Chardonnay that we're going to be drinking on the show today. Super looking forward to that. Thank you for saying that. You know, I make a lot of them. Today's topic is a really, really serious topic. We are talking about tolerance or intolerance. And how do you handle super touchy subjects like abortion, gay rights, gay marriage, homosexuality, all of the tough stuff that America really has some very strong feelings about. How do you deal with these kind of relationships or dynamics and disagreements? And how do you handle intolerance? Is there a good time to be intolerant? Let's talk about all that kind of stuff. Chime in with your thoughts. Ashley is behind the scenes here, is going to tag the subject of the day down in there, the comment feed, so you guys can see what we're talking about. But share your thoughts on this. And here's the exact title. What does tolerance look like across issues where there's a clear division, such as religion, homosexuality, abortion, gun control, all that kind of stuff? These are the issues that are really dividing America right now. And how do we deal with that? What does it look like when we try to sit down at the table and listen to each other? Are there issues that you simply cannot be tolerant of? Are there things that you simply say, I'm sorry, that's not acceptable to me, I'm not cool with it, and off we go, right? What?
What do you do about it? I mean, you know, when you are intolerant, what do you do?
Right.
Well, it's about the tolerance, right? We're talking about
tolerance and or intolerance, right? Is
Sure.
You know, how do we work on tolerance when there are these dividing issues, and are there issues that are simply not acceptable for you to be intolerant of? That you just, I draw the line. I will not, call this a good thing. I'm not on board with it. Mm-hmm. That kind of deal, We find ourselves in America right now, and if some of you guys tuning in, maybe in our Whine No Whine Show group page, which I strongly encourage you to hop into, we've had some pretty significant disagreement in the last few days. And we're having to work through, as a group, we're new, doing the group thing, and we're having to work through some of those difficulties in very strong opinions. And some of these subjects that we're talking about, people have very strong opinions on. how do you deal with that? Sometimes you have a religious view. Sometimes, that religious view is very intolerant. The truth itself can be very intolerant. The truth is not really tolerant of untruth, right? So how do you guys feel about that? Chime in with your thoughts. That's a big hunk of meat to chew on there.
Okay,
Lot to digest. So I've given you the subject. I'm going to start pouring today's wine, our Chardonnay from Southeast Australia that I'm really looking forward to. And I'm going to turn it over to our guests so that they can toss in their shameless plugs, which I always reiterate is the part of the exorbitant pay package that we have on the show. So feel free to promote whatever you want. And I'm going to stall for the empty chair a little more for Cindy G here, so I'm going to start on this side of the room. And hopefully we can work our way around over to that side of the room, and Cindy will be here by the time we get there. I don't know. So shameless plugs, minute or less. Promote whatever the heck you guys want to promote.
So basically, we are. I'm playing drums for this guy named Scotty Davis, and he's an R&B artist. He's phenomenal. We're opening for Aretha Franklin, Aerosmith, and Common, April 28th at the New Orleans Jazz Fest. So we're stoked for that. We're really stoked. We just auditioned backup dancers this week, so we've got those those girls out there working it.
I passed.
Yeah. So we've got drum
I made
tech,
it. So
got all the goodies. We just have to make it happen.
I'm going to be wearing a pretty sexy leotard, I must say. So
Pyrotechnics.
Been working on my moves. So.
So yeah, if you're out at that.
So where do we find you?
Just DakotaLovett.com, DakotaLovett.com, and I've got all my tour schedules and bio, all that fun stuff up there. So
Very cool.
Sweet.
Working on it.
My name is Lauren. I'm a promotional model or model in general. You can follow me on Instagram. It's the Gingerbread Model. There's not much more to it besides just paying you to take some pictures, and I do contract work on the side. But otherwise, that's my life. Your face gets tired after 7 hours.
There we go.
Cheers.
Yep, you can find her on Instagram.
At the Gingerbread Model.
Yep.
Nice.
I am her friend, so
Yeah.
it makes me pretty cool.
You changed it.
Oh, wow.
All right, Toni.
Here's my shameless plug. I love shameless plugs. I'm with Century 21 Realty Partners in the Woodlands. Whoop, whoop. I also have a directorship at the Dance Ball. Senior soloists competing tonight.
Ooh.
Code 7 and Code 17 competing together for the first time this weekend under Danielle Applegate, who's amazing. So shout out to Dance Ball, and I have some Stretch Your Lifestyle videos about to come out. I know I keep saying that. We had a few setbacks, but they're going to be out soon. And so if you have any real estate issues or any flexibility issues, I'm your girl.
There we go.
My lease is up in June.
We need to talk. Toni.Rodriguez at
We're doing business right here on the show. You know what I'm saying?
All
She's
day
scheduling an
long.
appointment. I'm gonna pass my phone over to Alex now as well, and
Okay,
say,
fine.
Alex, invite people to the show. All right. So quick shout out to our show sponsors, Tara Wagner with artofathankyou.com. David Pipkin with Scott Thomas Homes, making pretty sweet custom homes. John Cruz over at Phil and Derek's Wine Bar. Definitely check that place out down in Midtown. Beautiful set. Come on in, Cindy G.
Cindy! There she is!
Cindy was in the middle of a surgery, and did the patient make it? There we go. First brain transplant in America. So
No way.
very impressive. So she was understandably late for that. I'm surprised they cleaned all up really quick. So,
I know,
yeah,
right? See any traces of blood or
Right.
anything,
It's
just
amazing.
ignore it. I mean,
Yeah.
Disregard it.
So yeah, we had to sanitize the lobby because that's where they did the surgery.
Right here.
So,
Right here.
yeah,
in the
right
Chase
here.
building.
It was me.
Right.
Right here in the Chase building.
There we go. It's very impressive. So
not easy.
Cindy,
yeah.
can you say what kind of surgery it was? Or
And that's
Psychological.
And that's
Oh,
how you
wow.
make $1 million.
oh, interesting.
Yeah.
There we go.
that was my horrible humor.
That was it? Oh, shit.
Okay, shameless
All right,
plug.
so
real quick,
yes, so
shameless plug.
you get,
We already did.
we stalled long
yours?
enough, yep, you were right up to you for a shameless
I
plug here.
just finished.
You know what's crazy is I ran all the way here, ran literally, I jumped out of the car and ran, and forgot my book. But I'm Cindy Goodson. Everybody knows me as Cindy G. It's a pleasure to be here. And I love to help people design the life they desire to live and live in the body they love to love. And my shameless plug is I am releasing a course next month that is based on my book, Ladies, Stop Thinking, Start Shrinking. It's a 10-step guide to shrink your body and fibroids. So we've got two epidemics. We've got, weight loss is a big deal among women, and also womb issues. Womb meaning the, reproductive issues. And so it's based on my own struggle with uterine fibroid tumors, where I healed 100% of the symptoms naturally. So this is a natural body reshaping and fibroid healing intensive course that I will be launching next month.
Nice.
So
Is your book on Amazon?
it is.
Oh,
It is.
I'm the only one that's never written a book. I'm gonna write a book.
You gotta write a book.
That's it.
It's a lot.
I've just
Write it
decided.
this weekend.
I'm gonna write it tonight.
Well, cheers to a good show, everybody. There we go. All right, so
Facebook
guys,
friends.
chime in with your thoughts on this. I'm going to reiterate the subject here for Cindy's benefit, since she just rolled in and don't know what we're talking about.
No idea.
So,
No idea.
So, and this is a very serious topic. The topic today is, what does tolerance look like across issues where there is a clear division, such as religion, homosexuality, abortion, gun control, right? How do we work together? How do we break down the conversation to a level where we can actually be civil and try to hear each other when it's subjects that people have extremely strong opinions about? And kind of on the heel of that, is there a time to be intolerant? Is there a time where intolerance isn't necessarily a bad thing? Is there acceptable tolerance? Right? What is intolerance and when is it appropriate? Is it appropriate, right, at any point? These are kind of questions that are being posed for the audience's benefit and for Cindy's benefit here.
Right.
So you guys chime in. You guys chime in with your thoughts on this. Since I just hit Cindy with this, now I'm gonna bounce over to you, and we've all
What are my
been
thoughts?
marinating on this. We're gonna do.
Like, what
we're
are we
gonna
starting out with?
Marinate.
we're going to
Marinate.
start off with a bullet point, 1 minute kind of a subject here. 1 minute on the subject, what your take is,
On
and
which
we'll work our
subject?
way around.
Which
On
one?
that question.
I mean, there's
So
so many.
what does tolerance look like across issues where there's clear division? So how does it look to be tolerant when there's a clear divide between these parties? How does one tolerate the other when there's a clear divide on issues, big issues like religion, homosexuality, abortion, gun control? Right?
I think it varies on the situation.
All right.
I mean, if you're thinking, am I giving my opinion of what I think those things are, like, mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, I think it depends on the situation. If you look at abortion, I don't think anyone should be able to go get pregnant and then just go, like some kind of clinic. But if it's a situational thing where, the girl's really young and she was raped, or something like that, then maybe that's, suitable. As far as gun control, I grew up on land. I love guns, hardcore Texan here, so I don't think everyone in the city should have guns.
Let me ask you a
But
question.
if you live out on land, maybe.
This is a difficult kind of to wrap your head around kind of a thought,
Right.
But the abortion one's an easy one for me to go to, right? So you kind of stated your take on that, right? Well, how do you feel, or how does a person deal with, that's your take. On the other side of the aisle, the position, the woman says, it's my body, you can't tell me what to do with it,
Right.
Under any circumstance whatsoever, right? And so now you have a very wide divide
I think
between those two.
having people interviewed, having it's situational. It's got to be situational. I
I
don't
Are we
think
just
anyone
going
should
to
be-
interject, or are we going down the
Yeah,
road?
so I
or-
wanna-
okay.
We're going to go around. We're going to do a bullet
And when
point.
we're doing the LGBT thing,
What?
Man, I have a lot to say on that regard. I think people...
What? I missed it, I'm sorry.
So we're talking about so many different
homosexuality.
subjects.
Yeah, and so for this topic, the topic isn't so much about diving into each subject and debating that subject out, as much as it's talking about there's a chasm, a divide between these two places, right? One side of the audience has a very, hard opinion, and the other side has a very hard opinion, and there's no give between the two.
Right,
What does tolerance of each other look like? How do we deal with that? I mean, how do we tolerate each other when one side is going, you're a murderer, and the other side is going, it's my body?
I think science backs a lot of things, but science can also be kind of like,
But would you ever like?
Okay, so let's go ahead and do
Okay,
a
here,
bullet.
I'm gonna ask
1
you a
minute.
question.
One minute.
Would you ever judge a woman differently if she said, I had an abortion because it wasn't the right person, or I wasn't in the right situation, or I did not want to bring a baby into the situation? Would you ever judge them?
Beyond
Okay,
for
so-
me, yeah, I
so-
probably...
okay,
I
so
probably
you're
would-
intolerant.
Hang on. Yeah, I was just gonna say, hang on.
Intolerant.
And that's a perfectly fine question to ask, right? But let's save that for the discussion, right? Because that's going to get us down into
Yeah, you're right.
a discussion thing. For you, what does it look like to have two sides that are very much in disagreement? And by the way, Patrick is saying you need to improve audio. I'm at full volume and I can barely hear. Check the volume on the tablet on the Mevo, and see if we can crank up the volume. We'll get you some volume going here, Patrick. We have a crazy situation in the studio. Yes, thank you for the feedback.
Yeah, where's our new mic? Not up yet.
Yeah, not up yet.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And
No,
had
it's also-
equipment failure during the week, and so we're
Oh,
using backup stuff,
it,
and
got it,
it's
got it.
crazy madness. Yeah,
So
so
just basically what I feel about intolerance.
how do they deal with it? How do they?
Well, how are we currently dealing with it, or how should we? Because
Yeah.
currently I feel
Sure.
like we are all silently intolerant, and on Facebook we all go at each other, but in public and our facade, we're so tolerant, and we just everything's fine.
Until somebody says
and
something.
we were all essentially fake. Yeah, essentially fake, and then but when it comes to like, our privacy and
Until
our
there's
own,
rubber ducks and
we're
daffodils
different
involved.
people, and that's
And
just
exploding unicorn.
Good point.
just like some people say like how
Right.
whenever the election was going on, what they call it, silent supporters, people who were even scared to say that they were supported any party because of judgment. So people will be their own self in privacy, would be somebody totally different and can act as a tolerant individual in public. Some people cannot, but most people can.
Okay.
I feel like as a nation we should find, it's like having a bunch of kids. One's always going to be unhappy. I mean, it's
Our nation is definitely like having a bunch of kids.
It's impossible. No, there's never going to be a situation where we're
100%
all
agree.
happy. I
Like
mean,
this.
there's always going to be a group or an organization or a political party that is unhappy and fighting whatever is going on. There's tolerance and there's intolerance and there's different kind of people and different levels of it.
Okay.
And so I feel like that's what we need to handle in that matter. But as of my opinion, I can save that for the discussion.
Okay. We'll jump in on that.
Okay.
Tony?
So the issue is tolerate. So everybody just take a deep breath, because tolerance is about patience. Tolerance is not accepting someone's opinion. It's learning how to listen, which is the premise of this show, to other people's opinions. And whether you accept it, agreeing upon it, that's a whole different ball of wax. But tolerance is learning to take a deep breath and understand that we live in the most amazing country on the planet.
Amen. Amen.
And that we have the right to have our own opinions, and we are not all going to ever be the same. I don't care how hard you try, politicians, good luck with that. But we are individuals. God made us all completely different for a reason. Our brains work differently for a reason. And the beauty of our culture and the beauty of the United States of America is that we are all different, but all love this amazing country. So in order to be tolerant, you sometimes have to take a deep breath. We all know every day in our business and in our lives, we don't always agree with someone's opinion, but be very comfortable with who you are, so comfortable that that little opinion that you don't agree with but you're never going to say bounces off you, and you do not react in the crazy way that Joe says in the pre-show introduction, that you're like, okay, I got you, let me have a little sip of wine.
And where's my lighter?
And yeah.
But
But you know what? Sometimes I need to step back and process things. You know, I'm a female, we're emotional. Not gonna lie. So sometimes I need to step back and take a deep breath about it and go, okay, you know, I appreciate that that person trusted me enough with their opinion, because we don't always speak because we feel like the fear of being judged. We don't always say our mind, and I would love to
I don't
sit,
hear that.
and that's why I'm here, to sit with a group of people and know that my opinion A is going to be appreciated and listened to, and not overreacted to. And I think that's what happens. We get all worked up, and some of this stuff doesn't even affect you, and some of it is very relative and does affect you. But just be willing to tolerate, and that's what this whole thing is about, is listen. I mean, we don't agree with our teenage kids. We don't always agree with what, you know, Fox or CNN is talking about, but it's called just sitting back and learning to be tolerant of other people's opinions, and then the action comes after you have some time to process. Don't react on emotion. I'm guilty of it. My boyfriend will tell you that. You know, sometimes it's better just to listen, process, and learn to tolerate by breathing. Just take a deep breath. You know, it's not the end of the world. Nothing is ever, forever. Everything's always temporary. This whole situation is always temporary. That's my take on it.
All right.
Okay.
Cindy
Feel
G.
better.
I think, I mean, everybody has really good points about tolerance and their perspective on it. I'm gonna give it two different angles. I'm gonna be first. I'll be a little bit edgy, and in the words of a good dear friend of mine. I have a lot of teachers that you know, and mentors. And Dr. John Charles IV said in one of his quotes, you know, you looking at me, I'm gonna turn around and look back at your ass. So that's one way of just kind of putting it in a framework of tolerance. You can look at me, you can check me out, and you can make your judgment, and you can make your because you can only perceive me to the extent of your perception anyway. So in terms of tolerance, and so okay, so that's the one side. That's the edgy side. I'm going to soften it up a little bit, and I'm going to come from a more spiritual angle, and I'm going to just say we should all take the initiative to see others as Source sees them.
As what season?
Source. Well,
Source.
you may call God. You may say God or Spirit or universe.
Yeah, whatever your religious
Whatever
belief.
you call, whatever you
God.
Yes. So
Easy
when we
enough.
do that, tolerance is not even an issue. Our tolerance is because listen, the bottom line is, how can we all? What if everybody on the planet were just like me and thought just like me?
Exactly, be a boring
Yeah,
ass world.
hot ass mess.
No,
Excuse
I
my
don't want to
language.
date me.
But yeah, it'd be a lot of
And I sure don't wanna marry me.
It would be serious.
Well, I might want to date me.
We
I'm
all
just kidding.
right now. Yeah, I mean we're
say this?
badass.
I mean-
The bottom line is we're all amazing, but why not dig a little bit deeper, have a little bit more compassion, put the humanity back in human nature, you know, and in this world and in this space reality that we're in, it would absolutely work out so much better if we weren't so wanting people. You need to think like I do, or else you're off. You need to,
Or I don't like you.
Right,
or I don't like
exactly,
you.
yeah. Whatever
You
gets
need
you
to-
through the night.
Sure.
You need to learn what's inside this box, or else you are different, and we don't tolerate that. We don't
For
tolerate that
People
behavior.
get educated.
Right.
Figure
For our
out who you
Canadian
are.
listeners, that is humanity, right?
Okay.
This is a news thing.
Let's get back to USA.
That was Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister, like said that mankind was like a sexist word, and he wanted to have it changed. And like,
Okay.
I'm like, yeah,
Well, I never
I'm
said
like-
mankind. I said humanity.
yeah. I'll see, but
Oh,
yeah, there's man.
humanity.
You're right. See, that's what I'm saying. There's man in there.
We are
That's
man in there. I got
you,
you.
you,
I
you
got
were
you.
being sexist, and you didn't even
I
know
was
it.
being sexist,
Ooh,
and y'all are
look at
judging
that.
me right now. And no one tolerates that.
I'm not
Tolerate
judging.
sexism.
At the end of the day, I think it's all about everyone can have their own opinion.
Absolutely.
Respect it, you know, as the other person respect the
Yeah,
opinion.
respect
You
your
know, I mean,
individuality,
like, you know.
All right, so we're going to challenge that.
Just don't come blow my house.
I want to challenge that.
Okay.
I'm going to jump back to the feed for a second. I'm going to come back to that. All right. So we've got some comments going on here. I want to acknowledge these. A bunch of folks tuning in. Yep, she's scrolling down. Ben, first of all, thanks for tuning in. Robert, thanks for tuning in. Hey guys, and here we go. Ben Ashworth with Alter State Productions, who is one of our sponsors. So thank you for tuning in. Joe Mikado, thanks for tuning in. Robert said it looks like people sitting down and explaining their points of view while seeing greater understanding of the other person's point of view. Conversation or conversion doesn't need to dominate every conversation,
Right.
right?
Clinkable.
But
Like you,
understanding does. Now that is a heavy-duty, nice thought,
Sure.
right? Conversion doesn't need to dominate every conversation. What is he saying? Every conversation doesn't need to be about me trying to make you believe what I believe.
Not
Exactly.
Right.
Jehovah's Witnesses.
Oh,
and
she said we're not Jehovah's Witnesses.
and any of you who are,
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
yeah.
Lord.
I'm just, you know.
Now,
knocking on your
listen,
door.
if you're a Jehovah's Witness out there tuning in, you own it that y'all are pretty focused
I
on
love
conversion,
Jesus, too.
and that's
Oh,
fine. If that's your thing, you should be doing that,
I
right?
mean, you got
All right. So anyway, that's a great comment. Conversion doesn't need to dominate every conversation, but understanding does. So we're going to come back to that. And you remember your comment?
About respecting other people's opinions.
Yes, respecting other people's opinion. I'm coming back.
No
to
one
that.
likes a
Ed
hard
Camp,
sale.
thanks for coming in.
Oh, what?
A hard sale.
Yes,
no one
that's
likes
for
a
sure.
pit bull salesperson.
Right.
Hey,
Jeff
man.
Everson, thanks for
That's
tuning in. Pablo, thanks for tuning in. Samantha, tuning in. All right.
Say hi to- wait, can we go down? I want to say hi to
Just
Jim.
let her know that we're live on the show right now. So
Yeah.
we have someone messaging me during the show, and it keeps popping up on the screens.
Hey, I saw someone new that I know, because he's a friend of mine. He's never clicked in. Can we say hi to Jim Stovall?
Jim Stoves was there brother down.
Hey,
Hi,
Jim.
Jim.
Where's it
We
at?
got
Hi,
show
Jim.
way back. Hey, Jim Stovall.
towards the top.
Yeah. he
Okay,
clicked
yeah,
in
we're getting there. We're
early.
getting there.
Okay,
We're getting there.
okay.
All right, yeah. So Ed, thanks for tuning in. Jeff, thanks for tuning in. Pablo, Samantha, thanks for tuning in. Calvin Weaver out at Hofbrau Steakhouse. They got some mad steaks out there. Definitely go check him out. Claudia Price, what's going on, girl? Patrick Villarreal, what's going on, brother? Jim Stovall, giving you a shout out there. Hey, guys. Tony, looking amazing, yes.
Hey,
It's
Samantha.
like, you know,
She is. She
Hey,
should.
Samantha.
runway model over here,
No,
looking all
no,
spiffy.
she's a supermodel.
No.
We're surrounded by beautiful
February
women.
24th, too.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
all right, I think there's
Wait, no.
plenty. Now this is an interesting comment. Terry Bryan Bending says, "I think there's plenty of tolerance going on. That's the problem." Terry, break that down.
Yeah.
Right? Tell us what you think. Why is that your position? I think there's plenty of tolerance going on. That's the problem. Interesting comment. Keith Crenshaw, thanks.
I disagree on
Chris
that.
Mack, thanks for tuning in. Patrick said, we already got that comment.
Yeah.
Gabriel Trevino, thanks for tuning in, brother. Esther Nanette, one of my past students living up in New York. And she actually, I don't know, I think she moved back to Texas. But anyway, David, thanks for tuning in. Let's see, Amy Cummins, thanks for tuning in. David said he can't watch the show, he's going to have to watch it later, but great topic. Gabrielle Smith, she's going to be on the show. Taylor Tobias, excellent musician. Joe said, Tony said, I'm female, we're emotional. I got chewed out for saying that the other day.
But
That's because you're male, Joe. You can't say that.
Hey, you're a Latino. Macados, Macada.
You know this, Joe. Yes.
Latina females. We emotional.
Jennifer Whitman, thanks for tuning in. Terry said, the woman said we are all way too many times. You know, and he's picking on, he's law, so, anyway, he's giving you a hard
Wait,
time.
what happened?
Rich Bond, thanks for tuning in. Ashley is correcting Joe here. He said, she said, you implied being emotional was bad, Joseph. See, but so did Tony.
No, I just said the truth. We're just emotional, whether it's good or bad. You take it the way you want to. I'm just stating that
She just saying.
we cry at the Bachelor, okay? Okay,
Yes.
I'm just saying.
Jeremy, thanks for tuning in.
Homeward bound. I mean, like I cry at Bambi.
Karen, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, come on.
Let's see. Denise, thanks for tuning in. Rodney, thanks for tuning in. I see you, lady, being very intelligent. Listen to that. That's giving y'all a compliment there. We have smart ladies on this show.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
Rodney. What's up, Rodney?
Oh, she knows you. That's why she's laughing.
Are you still thinking about it? I'm blasting you out on national internet.
Rhonda, thanks for tuning in. Alina, thanks for tuning in. Love having all the girls on the show. Me too.
For women.
Jim Stovall, glad to be here. Robert Jeter, one of these days I'll send you a bill for these nuggets of wisdom, Joe. Yes, he had the great clinkable, comment on the conversion thing there. Susan Vick, thanks for tuning in. Mariley, tuning in. Too much tolerance, not enough accountability. Now, there's another person approaching the other angle here, and this is kind of what I was
Do
talking
they go
about.
together
He
though?
said
Like,
accountability
are they
too.
together? Like tolerance and
Are
accountability?
y'all in the same room?
How do they go?
So, Karen,
you gotta.
yeah, I want to say unpack that thought. Karen,
Yeah.
what
Give us
is
some
too
more.
much tolerance and not enough
And how
accountability?
does it have anything to
Unpack
do with
that.
accountability?
Yeah,
Yeah.
break that down for us.
I think they're
Tolerance-
separate things.
They're two separate
Yeah.
Well,
worlds.
I think we are very,
Right.
very tolerant. He's right. We are extremely tolerant, but I think that some people are not, and that's why they take everything that happens around them.
Seriously, it's like,
Yes,
Exactly.
they're so
Very
emotionally
good
attached
point.
to their environment.
Right.
If
Yes.
anything happens, whether it's on the news
externally
or
dependent.
driving at the light,
If it's the cat or the
they're pulling
dog,
the gun out.
it's like
They're
to
blowing
the
people
knob.
up. Yeah, no.
We're
That's
not doing
tolerance.
that.
That's not
That's
tolerance.
I'll toss this out and see
That's
what you
not
got. I want
tolerant.
to come back to your respect, right? We have to respect all
Right.
opinions.
Yes.
Right? So what if you sit down at the table with the Aryan Brotherhood? Y'all are hanging out? You don't know who's...
Like this.
You
I
don't
don't see
know...
myself hanging out, but sure, we're hanging out.
Oh,
Okay.
if you can
and
make that
you don't
happen,
know.
let's do it.
You don't know.
And he
Right?
always upset.
You end up on a subway with him or something,
Right.
right? And just conversation strikes up, and he expresses an extremely racist comment.
And he just says, like, I hate people of color. or
Right,
whatever.
whatever.
I hate
right?
Mexicans.
So, yeah, whatever, right? So,
Yeah.
I hate short white pad
That's
dudes.
happened.
Whatever.
As a non-conversion.
But specifically
do you handle
addressing
that?
your respect comment.
I'd never let it
See what I'm
So, I
saying?
mean-
So you said, well, say it again. We just have to
So,
respect the
It's,
comments.
you know, we can hear each other and respect each other's opinions without, berating each other for, well, how could you believe that if, this is that and this person is this? Because right now the government, federal government at least, is so much hearsay. Like, how much of it is actually fact? And that's something that bothers me, and I believe, small government and all
We had
that.
this
We had this
conversation as
conversation,
well.
yeah, today,
And,
earlier.
and then so it's
It's a scientific study. It's all accurate. Well, what's their bet?
based on
Yeah,
who?
yeah.
Who
What's
are they?
what, exactly.
What's
Who are
the
they?
last-
What's their
of the day
agenda?
of the day of
Where's
the day.
the quality
What's their
control
agenda?
in this whole, scientific
So-
experiment?
And even in,
Who's some?
so,
Yeah.
sorry, I got off.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry.
So
No.
if you were sitting on
Right.
a
Yeah,
subway
so
and
I was sitting with someone there in Brotherhood, I would just say, if they said something derogatory about someone of the other race, I would just say, I see your opinion, and I would totally, I've taken lots of psychology courses. It has to do a lot with how people are raised and the influences they have as a child.
Sure.
And I would just state my belief that I believe that there is culture, not color. And so I can understand the culture, you disliking a certain culture and their beliefs, but I cannot understand you disliking someone for their color of their skin. And however they respond, whether it be animalistic or mature, then we would continue our conversation. I'm not trying to convert someone. They tell me their beliefs, I tell them mine, move on, I mean, in a very respectful way.
I don't know what that's like. I
I'm
mean,
not
I was
gonna be
raised
like,
like I just
how
don't even
dare
know
you,
this. You know what I mean?
Because that's
I don't
not
know.
going to convert someone to get angry at them. To say, how dare you be like that, and
Absolutely.
you explain to them,
I
This is
agree with
how I
that
feel and
100%.
why.
Well, my parents were beautiful people. My mom was so multicultural and open
They
and
obviously were
liberal,
beautiful people.
open-minded.
Look at how she
no,
turned
and
out.
my father was just very strict and staunch, and things are a certain way. And it was because of the way he was raised.
Yeah.
And for them to come together, and I mean, even in our family, we have Democrats and Republicans. I mean, we are not all on the same page. But my mom raised us to be who you are, follow your God-given discernment, own it, and be comfortable in your own skin with
Beautiful.
whatever it is that you are, because then you can tolerate, key word here, tolerate everything else around you and understand not everybody's going to be like you. But be open. I've had these conversations, people this far away from my face, screaming at the top of their lungs, and I always just say, hey, I'm so sorry you feel that
That's
way.
an exceptional.
I mean, it's
yeah.
going to keep me from getting killed, but I'm going to shoot somebody that's trying to touch them and say, I'm sorry
Right.
you feel that way. I mean, if they do, well, it was your time, whatever. but I'm not there. I'm not there to get you all riled up. I'm
Right,
there to
right.
tell you, hey, I'm listening to what you're saying, looking at your eye, and telling you, I'm sorry you feel that way. I mean, I have people that probably have negative or whatever, listen to gossip or whatever about things about me, and all I have to say is, sorry you feel
I mean,
that way. 'Cause I
TMZ's
know
pretty,
who I am.
you know.
I'm, you know.
See, I'm so
You
much
just-
more sarcastic. As
Yeah, and I've
Hey,
dated,
that's
and I've
me.
been with, and
I'm
I've...
not sorry about nothing. You got wrong information. That's your fault. I'm sorry
And,
for
and,
you.
and Randall's very opinionated. He's not here, but we've had our like really good discussions about we're not the same people, but it's okay. We can still be together and date and be in the same room and love each other, but it's about accepting that we are individuals. And that's the beauty of being who you are. Like that's the beauty of being who you are, is learning to understand other people. That's why we get to live in this great country all
If we were
together.
to take politics and religion out of the equation, life would just be so much better.
What about big politics? You know, like if we just had state government instead of federal government.
Yeah, I mean, we could take it further than that.
All right, so we are back.
We're back. We're back.
Back in
We're back.
black.
We're
Um,
back, and we back.
We left off on.
Yeah. So, I
I don't know where we were. Where were we?
We're gonna give folks some time to
Get
be able
acclimated.
to
Calibrate the
jump back
computers.
into the deal here. We've crashing feed. So part of the tech problem that we experienced during the week is that there's a piece of the camera that allows us to hardwire a network connection so that we're not dependent on Wi-Fi, because Wi-Fi signal fades in and out, and
slower,
different,
right.
all this sort of thing, and that piece of hardware died during the week because this has been the most challenging week of my life.
Me too.
It has been a massively stressful week. And pick a topic, doesn't matter. From the simplest mundane thing like a piece of equipment dying to massive drama and stress amongst friends and
Colleagues.
financial
Isn't that crazy
craziness
when
and
it
just,
rains
I
it
mean,
pours?
pick a topic. I can tell you, at the end of the day, this is a lesson in learning how to be thankful. Because at the end of the day, I am healthy. Right?
Amen.
I'm glad that you are, because I was kind of worried.
I'm
Stress
extremely
will
healthy,
kill
too.
you. Stress will kill you. So I'm healthy, and it really is a great exercise in life to practice looking for the things that you have that are blessings in your life, and mastering that attitude. Because I guarantee you, I had a very good friend of mine that he came into my office today, could see there's a little stress on my face. He's like, man, what's going on? And I'm like, I said what I just said, pick a topic, right? I'm like, literally everything. It's a million little things that are going just bonkers, and my life is in chaos. And I stopped, and I said, let me step back from that statement. I said, I have an amazing wife. I have wonderful kids. We're all healthy. I went to bed. I went to bed with a roof over my head, and I wasn't hungry when I went to bed. Right?
Amen.
So I'm like, I'm good, right? So when we sat down in my office, and the same friend, after I just said that in front of him, goes, a couple months ago, I was in Mexico on business. I was assaulted by 3 men. It was a brutal fight for life. Knives were involved, and I was in the hospital. I had to go under surgery. And
Wait, what?
yeah, this is a friend of mine saying this. This is literally today.
Wow.
After I just got through saying, how horrible life was right now, and then I stepped back and I talked about good wife,
The
kids,
thing
all that
in
stuff, right?
perspective.
Right? So check it out. He sits down, and I'm like, so what's going on with you? Because you don't look, like everything's good. So then he started telling me I was assaulted in Mexico. I was had going surgery in hospitals down there, reconstructive surgery on my face, all this kind of stuff. I'm getting a divorce. Wife has everything. I'm living in a hotel. I almost died. had a near-death experience.
You're like,
Worse.
whoa,
It
stop.
can always
I would've
be
just
worse
been like,
for you.
Yes, and it just kept going.
And turn your
And-
day into an amazing
Yeah,
day.
Yeah,
yes, and I'm like,
Like,
after this
amazing.
person left, I was like, I feel
Jesus
I feel
for my
really
life.
bad that I feel a lot better.
Yeah.
You almost feel bad.
Right?
You feel
I feel
much
bad that
better.
I
I'm
went
like,
again.
holy cow!
You
Yeah.
I
thought
mean,
you were having a horrible
yeah, it puts it
day.
in
You know what that
perspective.
says? That says that you have an amazing life.
I do. It
And
puts
that
it in
when things
perspective.
get a little
It puts it in
Well
perspective.
stressed,
And,
you freak because
yeah.
you're so used to your life being good. I'm telling
Yeah,
you.
you know, and
I'm
I
telling you.
look,
I'm telling you.
look,
I get it. I
I
get it.
Telling you.
I really don't stress.
And I'll say it again. I'm telling you, so you can make that comment that girl says. I'm telling you a lot.
I'm telling you.
Whoever you are.
Terry Bryant,
And
Terry
she's
Bryant.
still
Barry.
telling
Yeah.
you.
And I'm still telling you.
Still telling
That's
you.
right.
Still gonna do it.
You know, and I really don't stress. I don't.
Right.
And it's just
You
that
tolerate.
I
You have a long, high tolerance.
too.
No,
I do have a high
seriously,
tolerance for
when you
pain.
think about tolerance, do you
How
have a high,
patient
would you
are
say
you?
that you have a high tolerance level?
I
You have to.
absolutely
I
do.
see your
I know I
pain.
do.
So how do you, so what would be the okay, we'll just do three. What are the
Yeah,
three
three.
steps to increasing your tolerance level?
Okay, so well, and just in general in life.
Yeah, or in,
like to-
in particular.
Because-
Just in general, just in general.
So in life, I actually just said the step, like the number one step, is practice an attitude of gratitude.
Yes.
Amen. Yeah.
That is
Clinkable.
everything.
Exactly.
and-
So clickable.
Me and you.
Yeah,
Alex,
Ash,
can we get red?
Yeah, Ash, can you grab a
Yeah.
box or
We need more wine.
yeah, we're out of wine.
Being grateful for every little thing. My grandfather was a preacher. Man, I'm
Hashtag
telling you, that
Gabrielle
was his
Union, we're gonna
thing.
need more wine.
It is.
Every little thing.
Well, check it out. There's actually, I always like saying an ancient text for people who get triggered by the word Bible. There's an ancient
See him start
text.
sweating and
Yeah, right.
the Bible.
Oh, Lord, here we go. Oh, Lord.
Oh, there you go.
We are outside the Bible
there you
Belt.
go.
Head starts vibrating, you
I do.
know, twitching with the eye. There's this ancient text that
You're a sinner, you're a
says.
sinner, you're a sinner.
And it
Right.
shouldn't even, okay, go ahead.
So there's this
Thank
ancient
you.
text that says, "In all things give
Give
thanks."
I don't want to get
thanks.
confused.
Right?
Amen.
And then in that moment, then the very next thing is making all your requests known to God,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, for sure.
And now check it out. This is a formulaic statement. Do this, then this, right? So in all things,
Ask, and it is given.
right. So it says,
No, it's God's will.
check it out. So now I'm going to finish that statement related to the question of how do we have a high tolerance,
Yeah.
right? How do we have a high tolerance? It starts with giving thanks,
Right.
have gratitude for what we
Absolutely.
have, right? Taking our stresses, our worries, etc., and making that known to God. So
Yeah.
we're letting God know,
Dump it
you know,
all.
here's the things that I'm dealing with,
Yeah.
right? That's in your hands. And then it says, and the God of peace will be with you and will guard your hearts, your emotions, and your mind, your logic and your reason.
Oh, my grandmother's wife.
So as we drink and pour wine and
Drinking from Mary.
I knew what you just
Jesus,
said.
drink
I was
wine.
thinking about tolerance
Absolutely.
and how, say I was an intolerant person. Say I was intolerant to people of other
Let's
races.
just say that you were.
Say that I was.
Because
I'm
you're
not.
not.
I'm
Hypothetically
absolutely
speaking.
not. I'm absolutely
let's say it's a friend. A friend is intolerant.
Ask him for a friend.
But let's just pretend for a second that I am
didn't give
the
you
intolerant person in the
I
room.
just
Like
chugged it.
Dakota's like,
Like, as an I can't imagine being intolerant in the room because, like, I'm grateful for you, and I'm grateful for you, and I'm grateful because I know, and I'm grateful for Joe, because I know that we all contribute to society,
Right.
to America as a whole.
Right.
So, like, what does it matter the color of our skin, or who we care about, or who we love, or what what we think about guns, as long as we're not shooting
or what our
people.
sexual preference is.
Exactly,
You know what? I don't
like,
really care what you
I
do
don't
behind
care.
closed doors. Don't do it in
All right,
front of me,
so
but
let
I don't
me-
really care.
so
If it doesn't affect me,
That's the best way
and
to
when
be.
you open those
Yeah.
doors and you come out and you are like a beautiful flower to me and you're like open and you love whatever is around you, who cares? Like as long as you're not hurting anybody, as long as they're not foul or malice, love who you want to love. I'm sorry, I know I'm going to get ding ding ding, but I'm just saying, God created us. I'm just all about being
So,
created differently.
I want to play devil's advocate here, right? In this role, right? I believe, and I think some of the comments in the comment feed talked about this, that there are things that we should be intolerant of. I think that there are things that are
Sure. The
worth
misuse of authority.
worth stepping up
addiction in our
and
country.
saying, I won't accept this. This is
A
unacceptable.
terrible gymnastic
Um,
coach.
you know, I think and people will debate this comment, and I know all the angles to this as well. But you know, we as a nation reached a point where we said we have to end slavery, right?
Mhm.
And that this was worth literally a war, and 500,000 American citizens died in that war. There are subjects that I believe are ultimately worth a stand, and saying, I
Absolutely.
won't accept that view, and I will listen to you and try to understand culture and background, because that's relevant to me trying to help you move out of that, right? And so I can try to hear where you're coming from and et cetera, and then from there I'm going to start applying psychology, and I'm going to start applying science and et cetera. But at the end of the day, if we still stand at the same place and you're like, hey, look, this guy has pink hair and he can't come in my store, and if he does, I'm going to take him out back and beat him up,
Ouch.
right? I'm like,
Okay.
no, I have a problem with that.
You're right.
I'm just pulling a random kind of thing out of my
I mean, that's
head.
really extreme,
Right.
Joe. That's
Yeah.
really extreme.
Well, if it gets to violence, right? Now, check, I actually,
Or
I'll
malice,
flip on the
okay.
I'll flip on the other side of that statement and say, if the guy has a private business and he wants to be prejudiced and or whatever and hold whatever view he wants, and
Pay you $3,000 a month to be on his Facebook page, would you do it, regardless of?
I mean, Joe, that's what you're paying me. So
right.
You know,
I'm just,
what I was saying was though, I'm also for liberty, in the sense that you said if it doesn't hurt, right?
Right.
So this person could be the most hateful, evil person in the world. If he wants to run a business and can stay in business doing that, I'm like, then discriminate against whoever you want.
That's why I say
Right?
I'm 100% tolerant as long as it doesn't affect me. I know
well,
it sounds
and I mean,
selfish.
I
it sounds
might
selfish,
have the most
but
conservative views. You would never know it, because I'm not trying to
I would
convert
never
we're
you.
on the
think
same
that.
boat.
But some of my most amazing friends are of a different color, are gay. I've been in the artist industry for 33 years. Some of the most amazing, brilliant, creative people that I know are homosexual. I have people come to my home
Wait
and
a
stay
minute.
in my house, literally.
You were telling me that
some of
there
them,
are
I'm a dance
homosexual
instructor
people in
over
the
30
dance
years.
world?
Wait, what?
But listen,
This
some
changes
people-
my entire view.
But some of the most creative people, inside and out, beautiful people. Mike Love. I mean, I could just start right now with
You
the
know
most
Mike Love?
amazing people. Oh my
No
gosh,
kidding.
he's amazing, from Austin. But listen, some of them, he is welcome to. He could have a key to my house and come and stay on my couch any day of the week. Like, I have so much trust and so much love for people who are creative, who are
And
who
Randall
they
doesn't
are.
have to worry.
Yeah, and Randall doesn't worry. He knows that I have strange men
Oh,
staying in my
you
house. No. And so, but he owns who he is. He knows who I am. We've known each other for years. I mean, it's like, and people are like, wait a minute, but your views are so conservative. People who really know me, and I'm like, what is my political view, honestly, have to do with my friendship?
Your
Okay, so
With my
politics,
friendships,
your politics,
because he's not.
your politics are here. Your love is
Socially
here. Your
liberal?
intolerance.
But why are we
Your
trying to combine them all as
So-
a country?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or
So let me ask then.
or
Like
how
I said,
I
I'm
voted,
trying
or
to.
why does that matter to
I know
anybody other
people
than
have
I
different
treat you
opinions.
fairly and I treat you with the utmost respect, and I would never
I think
ever.
that's the optimal word here. Respect. You don't have to like or love or look at me, but you need to just have a respect. Like, it's a respect and tolerance, I think, can go hand in hand if you really think about it. First of all, people are so caught up in CNN.
Or the color, or the race, or
And
the
they're
all
they're caught
that,
up
the
in
Democrat, the
aesthetic-
Republican,
even,
yeah.
you know, the color of skin, color of eye. What's the difference? What if we were racist of the color of our eyes? Who would be out of the running then?
You know what?
Like, if it was
right.
not skin color, what if it were eye color
Yeah.
or hair color?
It's
What if
crazy.
we were
No,
all
I'm
colorblind?
so
Like,
colorblind. I'm so
the whole
colorblind.
the
I
whole
Yeah, I don't even see that.
racism
You know,
to me
it's
is
kinda like-
of all of the things that you can, like
Mhm.
hot topics that you can
Mhm.
get bent out of shape on, is the most bizarre to me. Which the whole DNA testing thing has kind of been a wonderful
Oh.
thing. I think everybody should mandatory DNA test it. Like, as a kid.
Which one do you
Why?
recommend?
That girl that's
Ancestry.com
1%
or like...
African American.
Right.
Or
I'm like, now you have to hate that 1% of you.
Can I say?
Because everybody's on the
political landscape.
Right,
Change
but-
everything.
But can I say, I'm a
Yeah.
conservative, but my grandbaby is a biracial baby.
I mean,
He's
that's the thing is,
Vietnamese and he's
How?
Mexican. And I pray to God that he gets to grow up in a world, I hope,
He
that
will.
his mother and his father and his grandmother teach him to just own who you are, love who you are,
Thrive,
and
flourish.
be
Yeah,
tolerant,
absolutely.
and you know what? And
Well,
think about how
educate yourself so that
Okay,
you
so
can have
look.
a fabulous opinion about your country.
So I was
Educate yourself,
playing
people.
devil's advocate with this role earlier, right? So again, is there a we're all, it's easy to sit in this room and we're all pretty rational adults in here and
Maybe
we all
different.
we all love each other and we have wine.
And we
Wine
love
works.
each other.
This
So-
product works.
Yes.
So is there something that as a person in this room that you would be stepping up and saying, I am not only intolerant about that, but I'm vocally intolerant of that.
Sure. I mean,
I'm vocally intolerant of the BS called politics and religion. Like, I cannot stand it. I abhor almost. Like, not...
let me ask for clarity.
Now, yes, let me give you some clarity on
Well, specifically,
Let's see finish. Hold on. I
Yeah, I wanna hear this.
Yeah,
I wanna hear
oh,
this.
well, I just want to ask this question so that she can keep going. Politics. We have to have some form of governance,
Structure.
right?
Structure.
Structure to our society. Invariably, somebody comes over and steals your weed eater, and you're like, I need some way to have recourse on this.
I had to put mine
whatever it is.
chained up. You know.
Politics doesn't govern that. Like, what is...
Well, that's
I think it's
local
the same
government,
rules
right?
and
You
local.
mean law? You
Yeah,
mean,
law.
like, breaking the law?
Well, as a
Judiciary
nation,
system.
a nation
I
is
think-
a
I think what you're talking about.
at the end of the day, a
That's
nation
humanity.
consists
It goes
of
back
laws.
to humanity.
right?
So, humanity.
The Constitution is basically law,
Structure.
right?
We're just
The Constitution is basically the nature is law, right? And so it breaks down how the government works
We
from
need
a
rules.
law
We need
standpoint.
some rules.
That's what I'm saying. So how do we, when we say,
Self-rule.
when we define,
But I know that goes into a whole nother...
Yeah,
no, but I love,
mania.
which
Right,
works
mania.
great when you have sane people, but there's the
Can we update?
school
Ashley,
from every
can we
level
update
up,
the feed?
everything always exists for the lowest common denominator, right? So when you have a room full of rational people, we don't need a lot of government, right? You're not going to come steal my weed eater, right?
Yeah.
Because I'll get pissed off and I'll go steal your lawnmower, or
Which
whatever.
is why we
right?
have the show.
That was it.
So-
Why
Why
to
are you gonna steal
understand.
my weed?
So those that are going against the grain, we've got to deal with that. We've got to deal with the grain or the
Right,
flow
right,
of the
right.
world.
Right.
We've
But
got
then-
like energy. Okay, so
So
if-
then you
so
have an
wait, wait,
Alex
wait, wait.
who says, well, you left your weed eater out, so I didn't think you needed it. So I just took it, right? So then you're like, well, no, we have to establish some rules.
So,
Yeah, but
well,
that
no,
person
no,
should
no,
think,
no, no.
You can't just take
why,
it.
Why did you take it? Let's talk. Okay, have some wine. Tell me what
So
you
they
took.
rationalize, they
So
register in
why
their
you take my
mind, hey, it's
weed
okay to
eater?
take
No,
something, that's
seriously.
kleptomania.
Why
That's
did
a part of the brain
I
that's
gotta
inflamed.
tell y'all something that recently just
It all-
Hey,
it all
y'all
takes
may
me
be
back-
missing my
so
point
it all
here.
takes me back to a green smoothie. Like, you need to call me
Yes.
so I can give you the green smoothie
Joe.
recipe.
Kale shake.
So we can
Joe,
get your
Joe,
that's-
you're not even talk. I'm about to tell a story
Get
really
your
quick.
kale on, okay?
Get your kale
Get your
on.
kale
Wait.
on so your brain
Joseph
won't come over here and
Makata.
Your
steal my
spirulina
weed.
sandals, the biodegradable kind.
I think I told
Seriously.
Randall the story.
Okay, so I don't want to rabbit trail that too much, but I'm saying so when you say get rid of religion, politics, that
The
sort of
rule,
thing.
the law should be, government should be, eat a plant-based diet, clear your goddamn doggone brain. Everybody in the country should detox.
Amen.
Everybody in the country should be mandated to go in a mandatory detox for 30 days.
Oh man, that'd be the
How about
greatest
that
thing.
there?
in the world.
I
Can I
wonder
say
how
something?
crazy the country would go in 30 days.
How about that there?
Everyone
Because
off their
half of your political,
SH.
because let me say something, the economy would crash because the ER rooms would be empty. You would have so much,
If all the Mexicans went
the
back to Mexico, our
medication,
yards
the pharmaceutical industry
Yes.
would go under because people would be coming, they would no longer need all the 25 medications they're taking a day. That's causing
Here
them
we
to steal
go,
the weed.
pharmaceutical companies.
Let me, big pharma. It's government.
GlaxoSmithKline, Procter &
Doing
Gamble,
It's running
Lilly,
all of it.
Johnson &
Like,
Johnson.
All I'm
seriously.
saying is just like what you were saying.
And they're-
Everybody needs to go into detox.
They're driving their
Simplify
Ferraris.
what you were
Detox
saying.
is
All right,
Like simplify.
everybody's
what you were
talking. We
saying.
need to
Yeah.
let's one at a time. One at a time.
Good, sorry.
Simplifying
Pharmaceutical
what you were
companies.
saying is we have a bunch of politicians in Washington when what we need to have and what they're supposed to be are representatives of the people.
Of the
The
people.
people tell them what they want, and they make it happen. But we have politicians who are being paid off by all these companies to make decisions for these companies.
Johnson
Okay.
Johnson.
Okay, so
The
question.
people that have the cancer
But
research.
I want to keep
they're
this
paying
dialed
off
into the
government.
subject here on,
you know?
on tolerance.
Yes, but
right?
society needs to quit being lazy and thinking that the politics is going to govern them. And she is saying we need to be a little bit more responsible for our own actions
I
and the
totally
way
don't
we
disagree.
are.
I don't think we let Cindy finish exactly.
We did, but we won't.
Hang
That's
on.
not a subject that is,
Well, I was
that's
looking
not a
forward to hearing
mainstream
it.
topic. Like, it's not gonna.
Well, no, I want to make sure we stay on topic with the tolerance
Healing
thing.
is not the most important thing. Peace is not the most important thing.
that's all that stuff for sure.
Control and being right and making the most money is. It's all about the bottom line. At the end of the day, we need to have everybody distracted on that CNN bull-ish so that we can keep everybody bamboozled about what's really going on.
The power lunch
to,
hour on
the
MSNBC.
power should be on
Yeah.
the information. The truth is on. So those that are putting out the real truth are getting bumped off. The Dr. Sabis, the other people that are really putting out the. And then I'm in a different space because I work from a place of nature, like of what's natural versus what is normal. What's normal is not natural. It's not
Right, right.
normal.
And what is normal? Who decides what normal
Well,
is?
nature
Exactly.
does. Source
Or
already
society.
did. God already did
No,
that.
but
I like
How
how you
does
call it source
society
because it is a
think?
source. That's
Source.
fascinating. Yeah.
Source.
Source is a
Fascinating.
very open word
Source.
for anyone that
Way
believes
open.
in any higher
Source.
power. That is a great term.
It's the
It
source.
really is. Isn't
And
it?
it's in
Isn't
all of
that-
us.
Isn't that badass?
It really
Yeah.
But your religious folk will be like, hey, that's the heretic. That's that
No,
new
no,
age.
no.
Oh, blah, blah, blah.
That's
That,
a
oh,
witchcraft.
no.
Source every day.
Oh, we need to. Where's
I
she?
know quite
Where's her
well.
at? We need to find her. So if I'm not on the next show, then you'll know why.
No, you're gonna be here.
I'm just saying.
Well, I think spirituality, again, is your own individuality.
Yeah, but source is kind of
You know what I
scientific
mean?
in a way. 'cause
So,
it's
I
like
mean, I'm
you know that
Catholic.
it's there.
It
I'm
did
not
say
sure
source
what
only
sky
God.
God. And I'm
You have to
Catholic.
have science.
That created the earth, Mother
But I'm
Nature.
not
I mean,
into
it's
conversion.
beautiful.
I'm not
Okay.
into pressing into anybody
Right.
of my own beliefs.
I'm not into
Let's look.
I'm an ordained minister, and I'm not into religion.
Are you
I walked
really?
out
No way.
of the church. I didn't walk out. I got
No,
kicked
yeah.
out.
All right.
You
So,
got kicked out.
so,
By an
so
or-
hang on.
It's
Okay.
Guys,
incredible.
hang on.
Sidebar.
Hang
You
on.
gotta hear more.
Grab it, grab it.
Hang on.
Grab it,
guys.
Joe.
All right.
We're jumping back and forth really, between each other quite a bit. We have to make sure we
But it's all,
Finish your point.
It's all relevant to tolerance.
Oh, yeah, I don't disagree. But, I just want to make sure for viewers and everything else, we're focused on the subject about tolerance and that we're stating a point and then responding. It was like, this was why I couldn't even
Oh,
keep
yeah,
up. There
we
was
got
like
into
20
it.
comments going there.
Yeah.
And I'm right here. No, it's okay. It's
Wait,
okay.
where?
It's good. I don't believe you're right here. I'm very intolerant.
Are you
right
sure?
here.
So what about that Aretha
What?
Franklin concert?
So,
Oh my
Oh my
God.
gosh.
I just wanted to get off this
Are you
nervous
going? No,
stuff.
I'm just kidding.
Aerosmith plays
from her
before
ticket.
her.
I'm in.
Steven Tyler, say 5 shit matches, fuck it up and see what hatches.
Joe has lost control.
Oh,
Did you just F-bomb?
No, F-bomb.
I didn't mean
Did you
to.
just try to squeeze that in?
I didn't try.
It was subtle.
Oh, hang it over his
Boomerang,
head. Did you drop the
boomerang.
F-bomb? I didn't even hear it. Boom! You put it over his head. Put it over his
Oh,
head.
wait.
Yeah, it
Potty
goes
mouth.
over his head.
Body mouth.
It doesn't.
It goes over his head.
In the
It's
jar.
an arrow. There we go. Thank you. This F-bomb brought to you by Dakota Lovett.
Some of us are 50 and have
You are not. No way.
Yes, way.
We have class. Yes.
Where's our
I have once
I was
again,
thinking like you guys.
I have
were
once
in there.
again lost control of the kittens.
I know.
They're roaming
Like
over the
a freaking
room.
Calvin Klein model. My God.
Oh,
Hey, past 6 or 7 years and we don't make eye contact.
We off model still.
I've lost control of the kittens.
You're out of control.
It's the box. The
They're
box.
roaming the room right now. They've gotten distracted by a string ball. And,
No, it's the 1001 Dalmatians.
oh.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so back, look, tolerance.
Cruella
Guys,
de Vil.
I'm
It's not
really,
like Dalmatians 3. Sorry. Okay.
So back to what
You
Joe's
got
saying.
Joe's show.
Okay,
It's all
we
you.
got to show you. We
It's all
got to
you.
show you. Be serious.
so back to the subject at hand and tolerance, right? I brought up a controversial thing about so much controversy. We went to wars of the nation, right? And there was all sorts of side angles and all this sort of thing. Please don't go into a big tirade about what the
Yeah.
Civil War wasn't or wasn't fought over. That's a totally different subject. I'm saying at one point in the nation, there were people who were willing to sign up and go to war because they didn't believe in the idea of slavery, right? And that had to be ended.
No.
So, and 500,000 Americans died for that, right? Nobody wants to go there again, right? But I will tell you, there are those on one side of an argument. Let's talk specifically about abortion, right? There, one side of the argument that I'll tell you from a scientific standpoint. I make this argument all the time, right? I don't believe in abortion, and for me, while I have very specific religious beliefs, I never have once made a religious argument when I talk about this. That our current law says that a human being is no longer, they have ceased to exist when heart rate and brainwave activity have stopped. That's what our law says. It's been argued out. The Terry Schiavo case in Florida a bunch of years ago was brain dead. They had her on life support. One side of the family wanted to shut her off, let her go. The other side was saying, no, we want to keep her alive. It got argued all the way to the Supreme Court. They shut her off.
That's wrong.
Right? So brainwave activity and heart rate, that's when we say a person is dead.
Okay.
From my standpoint, I say we acknowledge that a life has ceased at that point. The same measuring stick scientifically should apply to the other end. If a person is dead when that has stopped, then a person should be alive when it starts. That seems to be
So the minute there's a heartbeat, there's
extremely
life.
logical. Heart rate and brainwave activity, right? The exact
No
same
matter
measure.
how
No matter how it happened in conception.
But not conception.
Right. So
Regardless of the
I
situation.
don't know, I'm not a doctor.
What if
I
there's-
did go to
so-
medical
so
school.
listen,
I did
so
3
listen.
months or earlier.
So let me finish.
Pre-med,
Because
pre-med.
I don't want to get distracted by the argument of abortion.
Oh, okay.
Right? I'm
You're
not
not
trying to
down
get
the
into the argument. So I'm saying there are people out there that hold this view, my view, of the idea of when life starts and all this sort of thing.
Okay.
Right? So now, in my situation, I'm like, scientifically, this is not a religious view. This is, science currently says you're dead when, and therefore I believe you're alive when. And so I'm going, y'all are literally killing people. Like, killing them by the millions.
By
And-
doing what?
By taking that life through abortion, right? And so, at what point I'm like, well, should I be upset? Look, I don't own slaves. I'm in the North, right? And I don't believe in that. But you know, hey, y'all do whatever you want down there, right?
God.
Right?
I think it's pretty
So,
sick.
you see what I'm saying?
That's your position?
No, God no.
Hey,
No,
calm down,
I'm
calm
saying,
down.
I'm saying,
You know,
when I'm looking at
Joe got
abortion
you.
through those same eyes, I'm saying there were people in the slavery argument that they said, I cannot accept that to the level that I'm willing to go to war and I'm willing to die to stop this.
I'd go to war and really
Right?
die
So-
to people that are people
You're all
that
in
are
the
being
South, do what you
taken
wanna do.
advantage
I
of.
will-
Right, so
of course.
now I'm like, I am expected to hold this position that for me, I see scientifically a incredibly sound argument that this is a life, a human life. And I'm just supposed to say, oh, well, you know, I don't do it, so you do what you want to
And
do.
innocent
See
human
what I'm
lives
saying?
being put into like ground things. You know what I mean? Like
So,
I mean,
so literally,
I'd go to war for that.
Yeah, okay.
I
see what I'm, see what I'm saying? I don't want to get hung up on the abortion
yeah,
argument.
To bring it back to the tolerance,
Tolerance.
though, you are talking about abortion, right? Abortion is a part of that topic that you just mentioned.
Yes.
That scenario, rather.
So he's
Right,
saying-
it's exactly.
So-
I'm just using that as a
so
scenario.
whenever it comes to abortion, from my perspective and my position and my level of tolerance, if my grandfather got me pregnant, I should have an abortion. I don't want to have a freak-ass kid.
Oh.
And
Okay.
if my uncle got my
But-
daughter pregnant, or if my man
Okay,
got my
so hang on.
you know what I'm saying? So
No,
these
no,
are-
listen.
there are
That's a nuance. Hang on, that's a nuance of the argument, all right? And that's
that is so, or
But hang on,
or if
that's
the
literally-
master got the slave pregnant,
Exactly. Why
it
should she have to
doesn't
go through
matter.
that?
It's
Okay.
still freakish.
so. Listen,
Still freakish, only to enslave the
that
kid.
we're getting into a
Exactly.
nuance of the argument, which is deviating from the
Okay.
why I
When
used
you brought
the
in-
topic.
Okay,
right?
when you brought in the whole South, y'all do what you want to do and go to
The
war.
South.
When you brought that in, like that just
Dude,
that's
yeah.
automatically
Okay, so-
a segue
Yeah.
for me to say what I
Okay,
just
so
said.
I'm sorry,
How do I-
I
know,
wasn't
we see
clear.
eye to eye
Hang on, I
on
wasn't
that,
clear in my point here.
Okay.
What I was saying is, I'm trying to
No, that's good, that's
juxtapose the
That's why we're
two
here.
situations, right? So in the 1860s, we had a body of people who were enslaving people, and it was regional, right? We had North, we had South, right? And forgetting all the other nuances, let's just say let's roll with this, that the war was strictly over slavery, right? Half says we want to be able to have slaves. Other half says
Why
we
didn't
don't.
they enslave each other?
Well,
Like, why
yeah,
slave black
right.
people?
So don't wait, stick with me. Don't let's. I don't want rabbit trails. It's so easy to rabbit trail. All right. The other half says we don't think you should be able to have slaves, and they go along tolerating that view for 100 years in the country, and it reaches a point where one side says we can no longer tolerate it, and to the point where it's going to get now serious.
Right.
Like we're going to go to war.
Yeah.
To
and
make
people-
sure that other
To
human beings are
abolish
treated
slavery.
fine.
Well,
about
people
slavery.
who can't
Right,
tolerate,
so-
we go to war. I mean,
Right. So now listen. So now, moving forward 100 years, and Roe v. Wade happens, and abortion is legal. Right. Now there's a body of people that say it's perfectly okay. We do whatever we want. We can.
Abortion
abort-
and slavery
abort.
are two different
Well,
things,
hang on.
man.
No, listen. I'm trying to make a
Come on,
parallel
go ahead, go ahead.
of concepts here.
Okay.
Right.
Roe versus Wade.
And so now there's one side that says we can do whatever we want. We can abort this fetus, this tissue, and there's another side that's going.
No,
well,
it's a life.
It's a life. Wait a minute.
It's a life.
Oh,
So-
you use it as an analogy.
Yes, I'm
Oh.
analogous between the two
Compare.
positions, right?
Ah.
And so,
Mind blown.
I don't mean to be laughing during the subject.
right, it's
No,
very
I'm
serious,
looking at
right?
nothing.
And so, here I sit going, I'm not making a religious argument. I'm saying based on science and the law already on the books, argued to the Supreme Court, we acknowledge a life is no longer when brainwave and heart rate has stopped. Scientifically and logically, the same applies to the inverse of when life starts. And you're killing human beings, and not just a little. You're killing humans in epic proportion.
I definitely don't
like
think it should be abused. Yeah. I
like
think
the
this is-
Holocaust.
20-something
Right, right,
million human lives have
I
been
mean,
terminated
I'm just saying.
since that date. At what point do I
Chattel
say?
slavery.
At what point do I
They were
say?
grown being aborted. They were already.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
You're intolerant. I get
At
it.
what point do I say I am in the north
Yeah.
on this issue,
Let me
Okay.
just say that.
and I cannot tolerate the South's view, and I'm
So
willing
you're-
to go
you're
to
showing
war?
your true tolerance.
And you're
right
willing to
now.
go to war to stop that action or
Right.
that
That-
mindset or that
Right.
the law. That,
Right.
Yeah.
And please don't get hung up on the issue. It's not, I'm not trying to talk about slavery or abortion. I'm juxtaposing those concepts, right?
Those are examples.
All right. It
Why-
could be homosexuality. It could
Right.
be the Second Amendment and gun
Right,
rights.
right,
I mean,
right.
pick a topic, all right?
Right, right.
The topic
I
doesn't
think they
matter,
vary.
right?
It's tolerant.
Right. How,
You really think it's tolerance?
That's what he's
How
saying.
do you-
Don't
yeah,
look
it's
at
tolerance.
the actual.
Right, it's
don't
how-
look at the subject. It's how do you
at
tolerate.
what point
Where do you-
is your
where do you go?
tolerance, at what point is your tolerance, at the point where you're saying, I can no longer accept. It is unacceptable. Like right now, it's all kosher and everything's cool for us to say,
Yeah, it's
oh,
not-
I'm not down with slavery. I'm 100%
As long as
against
you're
that.
not-
But there was a point in our nation where half the freaking nation was like, oh,
Right.
I'm totally
Yeah.
fine with this.
Yeah,
I'm cool.
When you're
right?
killing children, when you're killing human beings, period. I didn't even say children. I'm sorry. Misquote. When you're killing people, when you're going to Las Vegas and shooting out a window at innocent people who have no
Gosh,
idea
God
what
bless those
you are
people, man.
intolerant of.
Right, right.
When in this day, not back in the day when people didn't even understand tolerance,
Right, right.
but now that we understand tolerance and we live, like I'm going to keep reiterating because I love my country. We live in this incredible country. When you are killing innocent people, regardless of their color or their religion, that's when tolerance is the true issue. It's like, what are we going to tolerate? You know, I had two people tell me on that morning, I'll never forget it, said, why do I care? It doesn't affect me. I don't live in Las Vegas.
Well,
And I was like, whoa,
So
wait a
again,
minute, wait
so
a minute.
again, I'm going
those
to
people
on
are so
subject.
shallow.
We
though.
are-
Because
we
you
are
know,
human
people
beings.
don't understand that we are absolutely connected to each other.
Absolutely.
Way
Humans,
more than
just
people
humans.
understand.
Okay.
And I did a live stream on that the other day, Joe. I just want to say this real quick because listen, when we really think about it, we need to tolerate every goddamn thing, and we're over. I see that. Well, this is the
That's
extended
fine.
version.
We're so live.
You know, because
We
she
can go as
said-
long as he wants.
She said GD.
I'm like, goddamn. So, because think about it. I exist. I'm healthy. I feel great. But I didn't make these clothes that I'm wearing.
Right.
I didn't make this bracelet.
And
Look,
yeah, some
look,
7-year-old
I
It was
really-
made for
sweatshop should be
someone
good.
other's,
Yeah.
somebody else's energy did this.
Listen, listen.
Yeah.
And it could be a 7-year-old in
Everything
an
is
Indonesian
energy.
sweatshop.
Listen,
Exactly.
listen.
We didn't talk about that.
I very much
Butt
want to
naked.
get to this, the question at
slave
hand,
shop.
the topic at hand, and I gave this big, long analogy, right, to try to force us to deal with this issue. And I'll use the Las Vegas shooting one. I'll go there as well. You made that comment. You had people, well, I don't care. I don't live there, right? Well, there were people in the north that said the same thing,
Right,
right? What do I care? I don't own slaves,
right.
right?
Or-
There are people that, what do I care? I haven't had an
my
abortion.
people
Or
from
they
Mexico,
did
we
own-
weren't part
or
of
they-
that.
On the other side, they did own slaves, or their parents owned slaves, or their whatever.
Yeah, what do you care? I don't, you don't own
What do
slaves.
you care? You're eating a great lunch right now based on what they did.
I think
Right.
they're very
So-
misunderstood.
so listen,
red wine.
I don't think
listen.
those people are very you know.
So, but please focus on the question at hand about tolerance. This is, I'm trying to make a really,
Driving it home.
Squirrel.
Okay.
a difficult subject that we have to face, right? We can all sit here 100 years later and say, I would never own slaves, that's a horrible thing, whatever. But there was a time in our nation when half the nation was perfectly okay with it.
Do you think
And-
it was really half the nation?
Absolutely.
It was a
Really?
split,
Yes.
population,
Yeah.
I don't want to
Back
get
in
into
the
it, but
day.
anyway,
Point.
still,
Point.
again, I don't want to get rabbit trailed on this.
Yeah.
Half the nation said they were for it, half the nation said they're against it, and it took a body of people saying, we are intolerant of that view. We are intolerant of that view to the point that we are going to go to war, and we are willing to lose 500,000 lives in America.
400
to,
of those were blacks. But
to,
go ahead.
to stop it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was,
400,000
yeah. Anyway, side issue.
for something so.
So, but listen,
Like-
stay focused on the question at hand, right? That it's easy to look back 100 years and say where you would stand on that, right? Because I'm in neither camp, and now I can look back objectively
were
and
the
all this
day
stuff.
of,
Right. So,
right,
but wait,
right.
here we are now in
Right,
today's society, and half of our nation, if you look at the odds on who's for and who's against, it's very split down the fence, 50-50 on abortion. Half of our nation says it's just tissue and it's my body, I can do whatever I want, and off they go.
But she's like 4 months in.
Okay,
It's
but
just,
go
But hang on.
Right.
And the
3 months
other
is
half,
where I draw the line.
yeah.
the
it's
other
not for me
half,
too.
listen again, the other half, I want y'all, it's not the subject. Please don't get hung up on the subject. The other half is saying you're taking human life, just like you were enslaving human beings. There's no difference between those on a value level, right? Human life on both of those. Enslavement,
I'm going to
taking
need to
life.
disagree with you on that.
Okay, how?
I'm going to need to disagree with you because a child, an unborn fetus that is tissue and cells and has not come forth and manifested into
Right.
this
Doesn't have
earth,
consciousness
not-
in-
doesn't
on that
have
level. Okay, that's fine.
It's
I
not in
accept
the
that
time
caveat.
and space reality that the slaves
Right.
were in, that my forefathers were in, being split apart by a freaking 2 horses in front of their kids, and their wives watched, and the husbands had to watch while the wives were raped by the slave really?
Yeah,
It's
I'm
not
sorry.
a
No,
good-
no, no.
it's not a
That's
good-
like
that's
that's
not a good
fair.
scenario.
I wasn't.
Yeah, not a good scenario.
I was
Like
making
another example.
I was making an example of
Schizophrenia
equality there.
of some sort. Something
It's
sick.
post-traumatic slave syndrome. That's what I
That's-
have.
Hang,
Yeah.
I mean,
So
they
where's
made
my
that. They
pill? So
created
where's
that.
my
no,
pill?
we're like talking over each other, and it gets
I've got
really
cards
tough to
for that.
follow. Make a statement. Let's follow each other, so we can
But
move
that was
on.
the- but I'm
So,
just-
but
I was
wait,
just
listen.
thinking
I
to
was
your
I was
example.
making it equality. I was speaking equality on a different level. I was saying human life versus human life.
Human life
You're
versus
saying
slavery.
caution.
Human life versus slavery. Maybe
It's
human life.
getting rabbit trailed again on
Yeah.
on the
I'm trying to give
the-
you a better topic though, because I'm here, so I have to.
Listen.
I'm here to contribute to the.
No, I
to the
get it.
conversation.
I'm trying to address the issue of tolerance, and at what point do we tolerate
We've
that
addressed
thing,
it though.
right?
Tolerate
So,
abortion.
right. Again, at one point there was a we're
But
getting
I
hung
thought
up on.
abortion wasn't the topic though. Like I'm
We're
I
getting,
just think
listen,
this
we're
is a
getting
prime
hung up on
example
topics.
of
I'm
what
just
it is.
using
It
an
says right
example.
here.
Yeah,
I'm
let's
gonna move.
rate our wine.
I'll move
Right
out
here.
of.
Let's rate our wine.
I'll move out of the topic of.
Okay, because on the third page it says something about. I mean, it says something kind of different. You know what I mean?
Listen, one of the great things I love about this show, one of the greatest things I love about this show is that sometimes our topics go unresolved. And what?
It's okay.
Guess what? It's okay. Like we
Restroom?
we agree to maybe we're
No,
going to have
let's-
a
I'll wait.
disagreement here.
Let's do our
I don't
little-
agree that that's a
let's
good
close it out.
example. Like, you can't make a point off of that example
And we're
because
gonna
I'm gonna
agree to
because I'm gonna
disagree.
give you some other points about that example that are that are
Yes, and I'm saying that in doing that, it's missing the point. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so the
that's what I'm
point
saying.
is-
The point is that we can go Second Amendment gun rights. We can go we can go
Gay
To the
love,
Vegas
GG,
thing.
right.
Cannabis
yeah.
We can go
legalization.
the example of mass shooters and like
Okay.
that people didn't care because they weren't here and I was over there.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Let's
is
do that.
that there is a portion of the nation who disagrees, and why that example was so relevant with slavery was that we were willing, there was a split, a divide in opinion, and the opinion got to the point where part of the nation said it is serious enough that we are intolerant of that view, that we're willing to go to war and die over it, right? And I'm now moved to any other example,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
It's just easy with
Because-
abortion
but
again
see,
because
but
there's
I
a
gotta-
termination of life.
The
but-
we that you were mentioning though that I have to speak on, the we was not the we that were involved in the being killed and da. So okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
The we that said we're gonna go to war was not the we that were actually on the front line going to war. So there you go. Go ahead. I'm just saying, like seriously, and
No,
this
she
is
made a
not.
point though.
I mean,
But
yes
how
or
is
yes.
that
Yes
relevant
or
to the
yes.
question of how
Yes
is that
or
relevant
yes.
to the question of
Here's my
tolerance?
thing.
Yes or
Breathe,
yes?
Joe. Breathe.
How's
See,
that
this is
relevant to
a
tolerance?
lesson on how
tolerate.
intolerant society really is.
Today.
We
So-
cannot agree.
And you're not going to
It's
convert
not
her
easy
into
to go
believing
back.
and
It's not
understanding where
easy
you
to
were
use
going.
examples like slavery
It's okay to say, okay, I
and
see how you see it,
abortion.
but it's not-
Those are
it's not
very,
easy to
very
agree.
tough examples because they have
We
they,
literally said that in the
they
title of the show.
qualify. They require so much more dialogue
Yes.
than what we're able to give it and using it as an example. And when you have Cindy G on your panel, I'm going to take you there, Joe.
And then if you have
Amen.
Toni Rodriguez, Miss Neutrality.
Exactly.
Are we-
I understand
are we
your
all-
analogy.
we went
I
all-
understand
But
Joe
no
Orsak's
one,
analogy.
literally,
But I
in
also
giving the example,
understand-
no one has responded to it. Not one person
No,
has
I did,
responded.
but nobody
Respond.
There's been
Respond.
nothing but rabbit trail comments the entire time,
But guess
and no one has
what?
attempted to address
But
the
look at the
that
rabbit
question.
trails that
Are
we've
we
gone
off?
to gone to
Exactly.
offline, but we're still happy. And we're
Amen.
still drinking
Yes,
wine.
very true.
And
Amen.
hence, the point of the show. We can rabbit trail our asses off.
If anything, it proves how tolerant but intolerant
We don't
all
have to
are.
come to a
Like,
conclusion,
we're
do we?
tolerant,
But
but
no,
we're
we don't have to come
intolerant
to a
when it comes down
conclusion.
to
Well,
it.
I
Listen,
appreciate Joe's
listen,
directional
we-
change. He was trying to keep
Listen.
us on track on what.
Yeah, I was just going to say, listen, we don't have to come to a conclusion, but it'd be really nice if we actually discussed it,
Yeah.
right?
Oh.
Because we never actually got to addressing it.
Are we offline?
No,
Yeah.
we're still going.
All right, well, let's talk.
We got like 2 hours. We can
should
talk
do-
how long we
I
want.
know.
Lauren's gonna have to go to the restroom.
I gotta go back
Can
to
we
the
take a
village.
break? Like,
So
let's
I'm
have a
seeing
break.
yellow. I'm
Okay,
going to be
go,
back
Lauren.
in
All
5
right, we're going to
minutes.
answer some questions.
We're gonna
and then
take
we're
a
going to
break.
come right back.
Yeah, we're gonna take a break.
Yeah, well, Joe and I will talk.
We'll be right
I'll
back.
take a break.
Oh! All right, so now we have to realign the camera. Cool, I get that.
I was just testing the durability.
I know.
Are we on still?
Yes.
Okay,
we
As
come
long
on,
as
Joe.
that's red right there.
Let's figure
So
this out.
so listen.
Tony,
this,
are you
I,
good?
this,
I know,
This
I'm
is a
good with my bladder.
critical thing. This is a critical point. That it's bothersome for me that we can't hear the analogy and address the analogy. We're getting so darn rabbit trail
No, I
on
was
side
very
topics.
appreciative of the
So-
analogy. I didn't respond to it.
Were
Of course, they,
extremely easy to rabbit trail.
yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right.
They were very serious.
right.
I
Thank you
wouldn't
for
have
those
used
indoors.
as serious of.
But there was a specific reason why I use those topics, because in the scenario, we went to war. So how many topics as a nation have we went to war over? There's
that's-
literally
You're
one.
gonna
That's kind of
instigate
the point, though,
emotion.
is that it's such
An extreme example,
topic
right.
that we went to war of it, which is why it might not be a good idea
Well,
to use it as an
uh,
example.
If I'm, the very point is, at what point are you willing to go to war? That's my point, right? So I have to use that example to make that point.
I mean,
Right.
why would war be an option if we're tolerating?
Oh,
Exactly.
So this
In
is
perspective to tolerance.
so listen. That's my question at hand.
Yeah.
The question is, at one point in our nation, yes.
Yes,
Welcome to the
Alex.
show, Alex.
Hey, I'll be more than happy to join.
At what point do we say I am intolerant to a degree that I'm willing to go to war and die over this issue?
Well,
Right? And so we have half the nation saying, I am willing to go to war to end slavery. Right? I am absolutely intolerant of that view to the point of death.
Okay.
Right? Now, skip forward 100 years, and let's take a subject again where I picked abortion for a very specific reason, because there are lives that are, on one side of the view, there are lives that are being ended, terminated.
Correct.
Right? And you, if you get into the science of it, they're being terminated in very horrible ways.
Yes.
Right? The human body is literally ripped apart. She's talking about being pulled apart behind a horse. That's exactly what happens to the baby's body during an abortion. It is literally pulled apart.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't mean to get so graphic,
Yeah.
but there's a parallel there. That's my point,
Yes.
right? And so, and it's not just a small amount. We've had like 20-something million abortions since Roe v. Wade, right? That's not a small number. It's a very huge number.
Sure.
And so at what point, are we just to be, I'm not trying to make it the argument about this, but at what point
do you look at those numbers and then realize that half of those numbers are probably people that have survived a bad pregnancy? Right. So yeah, the 20 million
Or had a
lives may
bad
have been
pregnancy in a natural way.
Absolutely. So 20 million terminated pregnancies.
And that was an intentional termination.
intentional? Yeah, they went to the doctor.
Understandable, but
Termination.
like we're looking at like what 10 to 15 million people that may have survived a very traumatic experience because their body may have not coped with it. There's blood diseases, all kinds of autoimmune diseases that just health wouldn't work out. Regardless, the point is if tolerance is on the table, extreme actions aren't.
Absolutely.
So I mean, I understand.
So
like,
how do you address that? How do you go back to
does
slavery and deal with that?
Yeah,
You're like,
yeah.
well, that's an extreme action. So going to
Oh,
war
no,
and to going to war and stop it, that's extreme. I'm not going to do that to end
I
slavery.
mean, that's triggered by one person just saying something to another. Yeah, absolutely, totally. Once again, the
Read that,
straight
Alex.
definition of tolerance, the ability and willingness to tolerate something in particular.
All right, welcome back to the
Right.
show.
The existence of
Alex,
opinions
Alex,
or
yeah.
behavior that does not necessarily agree with. Once again, all of it can go out the window, and it's a matter of fact, it's a matter of whether or not we can just continue to discuss the issue, right? Because it's an issue. If you start picking sides, it's no longer an issue, it's a fight. So, are we trying to discuss an issue and come to terms, or are we trying to fight and be off sides?
So
Tolerance is not fighting and being off sides.
tolerance, the definition of tolerance, we have it here. Tolerance, the ability or willingness to tolerate something, in particular the existence of opinions or behavior that one does not necessarily agree with. All right. So my point in using the example of slavery was that we reached a point as a nation that we were no longer willing to tolerate that behavior. Right? And now I'm moving forward to pick any other topic, but the reason I use abortion, you talked about people being pulled apart behind horses. Literally, the process of abortion pulls a human being apart. That's literally how the babies are killed. They're pulled apart, and then that's sucked out of the body. Right? It's as brutal as it gets. Right? And
I can imagine being a doctor
and depending on what stage of the pregnancy, there's pain, and the baby actually tries to avoid and move away from the tools and all this kind of stuff.
But you're
right? So
saying
it gets pretty darn brutal. I don't want to go any more brutal than that, or graphic than that. But my point is that at one point in the nation, we were unwilling to tolerate the existence of a behavior, and we were willing to go to war over that. Right?
Absolutely.
And so, is there a point where, like, I'm expected on the other side of the view, I'm expected to tolerate a behavior that I see that way. I see it's a human life. I see it's brutally destroyed. Not just destroyed, but brutally destroyed. To the tune of about 20 million human beings. How long am I supposed to tolerate?
Well, that's your
What
personal, that's your personal
Exactly.
preference.
And you
how
notice
long
how
you
he, and you
tolerate
notice
that.
how he biasly.
Of course I did. That was intentionally.
Yeah, intentionally, biasly.
I'm
put
trying
the
to make a
emphasis
point.
on brutally. When I can show you
It is brutal.
let me show you this brutal video that was played on HBO Family this morning at 9:30 a.m.
Okay.
where there are white kids brutally beating up some black kids on a goddamn cartoon.
Please, with the GDs, please, calm
a
down.
Like, that's the only word that offends me. Like, that's the only word.
I know.
So the F-bomb is better?
See,
look, you're intolerant.
They're both on the
I
same
can say
page.
fuck all day long.
We gotta get a-
They're both on the same page.
We gotta get a GD sign.
Yeah.
Every time I
Right.
say GD, I
But-
always
but-
feel sorry,
listen,
God.
I mean,
So
that's
how brutal is that on the minds of the hundreds of thousands that you're talking about being aborted that are alive right now watching cartoons at 9:30
Tolerance
this
is a
morning?
personal
yeah, that
preference.
shouldn't be on TV.
What
HBO.
about-
It shouldn't be on TV.
Who owns HBO?
It shouldn't be on
Those same
TV.
slave owners?
What about the 20 million kids that would have been born who would have had parents that weren't ready financially or stability-wise?
Any other
who
legal-
Okay,
would've
listen. Again,
had- And I'm talking about
we,
before
we're-
3 months.
we can debate any topic you guys
Yeah, you're
want.
right, you're right. I'm wrong.
No,
no, not like that, but I mean, you're
No,
right.
you're not.
Yeah, I'm like,
We're gonna
I-
talk after the
We're
show.
talking
trust me,
tolerance.
I love debating abortion, right?
It's
But
not-
I'm trying to dig into the topic of tolerance.
I tolerate whatever
Right.
anyone
And what
wants to, as
angle?
long
And,
as it
and what
doesn't
perspective?
affect
So
me.
what is your
So-
hope to
Once it affects
for the
me,
topic
then
I
of
think
tolerance?
Dakota and I
So,
are the most
my
tolerant.
point in using those extremes was to say, at one point of the nation, we said we were intolerant of this behavior, to the point of going to the ward,
Yeah.
people dying, etc. Right? At what point is there a behavior? Is there, in our definition, well, it's on our screen, you guys can't see it. At what point is there a behavior that we're unwilling to tolerate to the point of, like, I'm not just going to sit here and listen to your
Well, that's
opinion on
easy,
this,
though.
right?
Interesting.
Like if we went back to slavery,
That point is
I
when
would, I would,
human
I would
life
be
is
intolerant
being-
of that.
It's being compromised. That's
And
at that
how
point.
do you bridge the gap? So if I'm saying,
Which is exactly what
it's
Tony said.
it's Second Amendment, and I'm like,
The
at
rest
what
is
point do I
irrelevant.
bridge the gap in this question and saying, okay, well, I'm not willing to go to war on this. I feel very strong about it, but now I need to bridge the gap, and how do we deal with
take
that?
action.
See what I'm saying? Like, so
If I were to save lives, I'd go to war for it. I just would.
Or if there's
okay, so
a human
finally
life
we're getting
for
to
our
responses. That's
Yeah.
thank you,
You're
thank you.
welcome.
I was asking for that.
Rewind,
right?
because I've
So-
said this like 4
Wait,
times.
what? What?
I was just asking for,
Are we
he
talking
gave
about
me a
slaves or
response to,
abortion? There's
When
it's
life is
The
being
topic is-
compromised.
Pick a topic.
So
Pick a
compromise
topic.
lives?
any
That's
topic.
Yeah.
as
Yeah,
long
like
as
when
it's
somebody
not
gets
for
hurt,
human
at
at
life.
what
point-
point are you
Because
intolerant?
I go to war
action.
against slavery, but I wouldn't go to war against abortion before
I wouldn't
2.5, 3 months.
I wouldn't
you know?
either. I wouldn't go to war
And like
against.
you get to pick and choose your battles.
So this is what I'm getting at. This is what I'm getting at, right? I wasn't trying to argue the point. I'm saying at what point do you define where you're intolerant?
Like abortion, I
At
can be
what
tolerant
point?
if it's your decision and you feel like it's an educated, sober decision. But if it's
It's a very key word.
Keyword sober.
We're getting there, people. We're getting there.
before 3 months. Before 3 months in there, before like she
Right.
was tadpole and all
Before-
of
Now
that.
you're keeping it on abortion.
Okay,
Okay.
can y'all
Yeah,
rewind?
but I'm-
But that's
Slavery-
fine. That's
slavery-
fine. She's
slavery
defining it to that
slavery
topic.
is
So-
adult people, as if like you and Dakota were taken in to work for nothing on a farm. Yeah, I'd fight for y'all. Yeah, I'd go to war. You know,
No.
like that's
Lauren,
different.
Work on a
That's
farm?
different.
That's what you think slavery was? That's what your history
That's
books taught you.
luxury.
So what I'm intolerable of is
History
the
is
history in our
literally
educational system.
Made
that
up
teaches-
education.
That
History
teaches
books are
a
made
false
up
ASS, since I don't want to use profanity.
Oh,
a
no,
false
it-
No
ASS
GD, no GD.
history.
Oh,
when I
make up
say-
whatever
when
you
I
want to
say
make to
goddamn,
look
I'm
America
saying
look good in
God.
the history
I'm
books.
saying gosh,
It-
Dan.
G-O-D, G-O-T.
It's
That is
GG. Can we do this? Can we do
the
this?
audio
Yes.
does not distinguish that.
Oh,
That
yeah,
is-
no,
that
it's
is-
just GA audio.
It's too hard to distinguish in person.
Where's
let alone-
Alexa?
Oh my God.
Alexa.
Alexa,
GA.
what's the
Yeah.
weather?
No, we're
Uh,
not at Randall's. We're
No,
not doing the
listen,
Alexa.
I don't. This is
Oh,
what-
Randall's got one
Lights
too.
on, Alexa,
You know,
lights off.
here's the funny thing I will point out to you guys, right?
Alexa.
On
Just consider
Facebook and in social media, we have an entirely different challenge
Oh
from,
my
from the
God.
show, right? Emotions removed. Here, these people are liquored up, right? And
Wow.
They're-
barely
Joe is throwing us under the bus.
they're
Hi,
like
Mark. That's my cousin.
they're
Mark.
like herding kittens. I'm not telling you. They're like herding kittens in a room full of sparkly
All the
objects.
He loves us.
Right?
He
Of course I love
He
them.
loves us.
They're wonderful, fun people.
I will show you his text.
I'm just saying we have a different set of things we deal with,
Yes.
and y'all are recognizing this in person right now. See, in text and Facebook, we have a whole set of different issues. Right here in the studio, an entirely different set of
Everyone
circumstances,
listen
right?
to Joe,
So
listen to Joe.
crazy madness. But we at least have gotten to the where I'm saying, where are you drawing the line? Where's the point? Dakota had a very clear statement here where he said at the point at which someone's life is being impacted, he's willing to go to war over that.
Yeah, it's
So-
actually page 4.
So
Page 4 of the Wine No Wine, Wine Grape. Wine
you
Grape
guys,
Grape.
it's a tough concept to kind of nail down, right? It's very easy to have these warm, fuzzy statements, and especially when we're talking about stuff that was 150 years ago, and you don't actually have to step up to the plate and deal with it today, right? It's very easy to be noble.
Voting in 50s. You're talking about 150 years. That's what I'm talking about. That's that right there. That's
No.
cognitive dissonance.
Slavery wasn't 50 years ago. Yeah, we can talk about
But
voting.
voting,
We're
I mean-
obfuscating.
But we were already working and paying tithes. I'm just saying, not tithes, but taxes. Taxes, tithes.
Yeah, don't get me started on the time.
we're obfuscating points, though. I
That's
didn't
a
know.
whole other
Oh,
topic. We
that's
talk
a
about
whole- We're gonna need more
taxes.
wine for the for the
Yeah.
tithes.
I will tell you guys right now that the show continues after the show.
Yes, it does.
Yes,
Right.
you're just not
And-
here.
And if you, hey, can you just say
We
support
should
the
have an after
show,
party every
sponsor
time.
this
party.
amazing
Let's do
show,
that.
and if you
We
want to be on
started
the
it.
If you wanna-
show,
If you want to
Ask
sponsor
Joe.
an after party for the Wine No Wine show, you need
If you
to holler
care
right
about
now.
people
gonna be the
talking
thirsty
about
tip.
this stuff in a non-animalistic manner, support the show.
I have some
I like
friends
that.
in the Woodlands who
Bring me-
own vodkas and wines. You need to sponsor this show. Joe Orsak.
A far
Yeah.
away.
I love the sound of that.
Hashtag Joe
Come on.
Orsak
Trying to
for
bring peace in
president.
politics. If you want me to find you a good house, you need to sponsor the show.
There you go.
Oh,
You can
I
live in
love that.
Palmer.
All right.
I started to bring some vodka. Can we do vodka sometimes?
After the show.
Oh, after.
Okay.
So, guys,
my friends in the Woodlands.
listen. A point we have on the show is to reiterate the mission of the show. First of all, this show is super complex because we are talking about not just one, not just two. We're talking about multiple freaking hot topics,
Yes.
right? And so it's hard to try to make a point stepping outside of those subjects to ask an objective question without people really starting to jump in and get passionate and want to talk about those subjects, right? But I really want to challenge you guys to think about this. Where is the line for you, right? How do you handle disagreement? How do you handle disagreement over something that is super hot as a topic, right? You can't get much hotter than abortion, right? That is a hot potato that nobody likes to touch, right? I've had it on the topic list to debate it many times because it's a subject I do like to debate. Nobody wants to touch it, right? It's too hot. There's multiple subjects like that, right? How do we deal as a nation that is more divided right now than it has been in a very long time? Very polarized. How do we all come to the table together to respect each other's views, yet draw a line on subjects where we're saying, I can't put up with that. That is the slavery equivalent for me. I'm no longer can tolerate that view, right? How do we deal with subjects that are that serious, that people feel that strongly about and still not kill each other, right? How do we avoid going to war, so to speak, to bridge the gap and talk to each other like we're half-sane adults, right? That's what I'm trying to do on the show every day, or every time we do the show. That's the goal of the show, is to get people of different views to sit down together. People, we've had crazy discussion over the last few days in the group.
Last hour.
Right, and last hour, and it's not about right or left. It's not, right? The show does not have a political agenda at all. None. Nothing. I have my own personal views, but the show does not have any view. The point of the show is not to say this side's right, this side's wrong. Hell, the point of the show isn't even to reach what is true. The point of the show
Hence
is the point of the show is to sit down together and say, you have a view, I have a view, they're in disagreement. How can we talk to each other like sane, civil human beings, right? And not kill each other and not insult each other. Because at the end of the day, when we do that, when we actually sit down together and try to hear each other, we're not just listening to respond. My friend Rich Bond, who tuned in tonight, which I was super shocked to see that he had tuned in because he's an Orthodox Jew, and tonight is the Sabbath for him. So after sundown, he's not able to do that typically. First time I ever saw him tune in. That's how important the subject was to him.
Oh, nice.
Right?
Hey,
So-
Tiffany!
So how do we learn how to sit down to each other, or sit down with each other with these really, really divisive, hot topics, and learn to listen to understand and not listen to respond? And there's a big difference where I'm just waiting for you to shut up so I can correct you, right?
Right.
That's the place where most people are coming
They're not
from.
even listening.
And then beyond that, I'm only listening to you to hear the worst in your comment, right? I'm
I
Like,
can
it's a
slam
bad
dunk you on
attitude.
right.
some
Oh, you
facts.
said that word. You're a horrible human being for
Yeah.
saying that word. Right? And it just spirals in this
I
downward
have to
spiral.
teach in 30 minutes.
Right? So how do we achieve that as a nation? Dwell on that. Share your thoughts. We're going to wrap up now. We're going to rate the wine. So get the ready. Cue the music. This is a long show, but there's so much meat to the subject that needs to be talked about. So we're going back to the Chardonnay, which we drank like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Which is great. But
So we're drinking tonight the Courant Reserve.
Yeah, I like that. I just had some.
Oh
I'm
my
more of a
gosh.
red wine
I am a huge fan of
Take a
Australia.
picture of that.
Yeah. So I will mention to you guys real quick, this is going to be on Instagram. And if I can get Alex to make the technology happen, we're going to start an Instagram live feed in the conference room after this.
Yeah, I got him right here.
Because
He's right
we
here.
still have tons of stuff to talk about.
After show.
Wait, I have
The
to, I have to
after-show
make a
show.
call because I'm supposed to be working after this.
So she's supposed to be working
Are you
at
gonna call
this.
in
No,
well?
I have to call my peeps. Wendy Baker, Bert Baker, we might just have to meet for dinner.
So you guys make sure you hop over to the
Two lovebirds over
Instagram,
here.
the Instagram channel, and the Wine to Wine Show. Look for that on Instagram. Like and follow the page over there. And we're going to go live in the conference room after this, and we're going to keep drinking. So what could possibly go wrong? We're only talking about all the hottest topics in the American history. So
Yeah.
what could possibly go wrong?
Wait, so
Right.
American history.
No
right?
drama there. But look at this. You know what? We've talked about some really sensitive stuff, yet we're still having a good time together. We're still friends and all that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
So anyway, chime in with your thoughts. I'm gonna jump back to all these comments and address them. And I know you guys have made some great comments along the way. But this is a serious subject. How do we bridge that gap? How do we deal with these massively opposing views? At what point do we stop and say, I'm not going to tolerate anymore? Answer those questions. Answer those questions. Let's reflect on it, because I believe a lot of healing in America is in this subject. So there we go. All right, let's rate the wine. Let's crank up the music.
Can you go to that comment feed?
Yes.
Courant. Courant Reserve. Chardonnay.
Thank you all for all your
Australia.
comments. Thank you for
Yeah,
all
tons
the
of-
comments.
tons of great
Argument,
comments.
Thank you. And your closing argument.
Oh, no, rate the wine. Rate the wine.
Like, no
No argument.
For the love of God, no closing comments. We'll be here another freaking hour.
rate it.
Mom's downstairs.
Is it
Mom,
on me?
yeah.
Oh, mom's downstairs.
The taxi
We
is
got to
downstairs
go.
to pick
We
up the
got
daughter.
I
go.
love this
But-
wine. I drank both bottles like with a straw.
Yay, yay.
I give it a 5. It is buttery enough. It is smooth enough. It's like alive and well inside of me. Like, get in my body, wine. Get in my
Yes.
body, Chardonnay.
Get in my body,
It is a
Chardonnay.
great Chardonnay. That Chardonnay made love to me.
Hashtag get in my body, Chardonnay.
Hashtag get in my body.
That is
Okay.
awesome.
Okay. Courant. I'm peaky, but I'm going to do a 4.25. If I can do that.
4.25. Yes, you absolutely can.
4.25.
There we go.
You absolutely can.
If it gets to 5, y'all need to buy that for my birthday.
There you go.
Understand where I'm coming from. Okay.
And I will tell you, I'm right there with Cindy G. I'm in love with 2 different regions in the world. Australia, southeastern Australia Chardonnays just freaking rock. I don't know what they're doing down there, down under, but they got it going on.
That butter going on.
Right? They got it going on. I love Australian, southeast Australian Chardonnays, and just the same Malbecs from Mendoza, Argentina. Those two regions have just knocked it out of the park for me on a consistent basis. The only reason I am giving this less than a 5 is because we had another Australian Chardonnay called Yankalila, or it was Yugalila as they say it, but it's spelled Yankalila, and it was a 5 for me off the charts. This is a 4.75.
Wow, nice. So you may as well give it a 5.
Getting into specifics, I would call this a 4.52. Only because
4.5 also?
yeah, I did.
Not two. Also.
4.5. You know,
Right, right.
Chardonnay,
Oh, tummy ache.
Yeah, with Chardonnay, you know, if it's like you can have more than a bottle split between one person and you and someone else, then it's a 5. But if you're gonna get tummy ache from splitting one bottle,
I don't get
so
tummy ache.
4.52.
I get a headache.
Yes.
Oh, the next day. That's how you take a
Not tummy ache. I get a headache.
You gotta eat some more, honey.
All right, Dakota.
I mean, you know, I've had
Rate it
a lot of
as you would rate
wine
it. Don't,
from
Yeah, don't worry
Really?
all over
Don't
the
worry about
place. I
Don't worry
mean,
about it, women.
you know, and
No
I mean,
pressure.
He's
well,
opening
I
for
give
Aretha
it, you know, I give
Franklin.
we're just going to beat you if you
I
rate it
give
less than a 4.
a 3.
A 3?
Oh, damn!
All right.
I mean,
No,
wow.
no, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
wait, I think I'm mad. Wait, what?
I'm offended!
I should
I'm
have
offended!
I have no tolerance for your wine rating.
Where's my lighter?
I have no tolerance.
No tolerance.
Wait, no tolerance.
No tolerance.
Bad
no
vi-
tolerance.
Bad wine views. I'm intolerant.
tasting room a
You're
lot.
a wine.
so
You're a wine
Oh.
racist.
He's at the tasting room a lot.
Oh, hey.
I lived across the street from there, so
Yeah.
Oh, so
Girl,
it's because
that's
it's
a
because
big
it's,
place.
You're really a snob.
it's because
I like
it's
wine.
a
You're a
white
real
wine.
snob. Oh, it's a white wine.
It's
So
a white wine.
Oh, it's
It's for a baby shower.
I like a lot of different kinds.
Ah,
It's a
yes.
baby shower.
Okay, so the rating is a 4.3. We're going to have a description of the wine up on the Instagram page tomorrow with a picture of the bottle so that you're able to hunt it down. And an after show is going to go live as soon as we get out of here and go
I'm
to the
going to do a
conference room.
Facebook Live, people.
Wait, can you pull
And
that down there?
it's going to be a lot of fun. I know we have a lot of stuff to talk about. And we still have more wine, so it's going to be crazy. Thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to support the show, like and follow the page, share it, send it out there to all your friends.
Scroll up.
Let's build a following and let's save America one civil conversation at a
Scroll down a little
time.
bit.
Support our sponsors. We have that
Follow the
tag as
model.
well. All right, guys. We're
Bye,
out.
guys.
We're out. Push
Thank
the
you for
button.
watching.
Okay, let's. Now we dance.